Hi there guys, and welcome to a special edition of the Cover Zero show with me, your host, Simon Conboy. Going to be discussing the unfortunate news that the Oakland Raiders are due to relocate and will be the Las Vegas Raiders from, I believe, 2020 at this stage onwards. If you follow me on Twitter, saw my immediate reaction. I personally am not happy with this move. Of the relocations that have occurred in the last few years, the Rams one I wasn't opposed to. I wasn't a fan of it, but I wasn't enormous. It didn't cause actual frustration from me in the same way that the Chargers moving and the Raiders moving has. The Rams having been in LA previous. I understand why the league wants a team in LA, with it being as marketable as it is. But this one, not at all a fan. I'm big on team history and legacy, and the Raiders, to me, they're one of those franchises that really feels like Oakland is intrinsic to the franchise being what it is, even if they did depart for LA briefly in the 80s. I feel bad for Raiders fans. Of course, it's one of the more colourful fan bases. Big fan of those guys. Had some fun with some Raiders fans. My first game at the Ray J was last season with the Bucks playing against the Raiders. Met some cool people there. Disappointed for the fan base as a whole. They've always travelled well. They're one of the more recognisable fan bases, of course. And the fact that this is a franchise that's now moved twice, that makes it doubly sore. How much truth there is to some of the stuff that's out there. I've heard that the city of Oakland, they haven't done much of a job. From the upper level. Obviously, I don't mean the regular fans in terms of trying to retain the franchise. Apparently, Mark Davis has claimed that when they attempted to relocate to LA a couple of years ago and that was rejected, that they tripled the lease price. And if so, well, it can't be surprising that at that point he saw that as a bit of an FU to the franchise and decided to try and find an alternative. Of course, Vegas is being funded by a consortium, this new stadium that's being built. It's one of those unfortunate things as an owner. I want the Davis family to be the owners of the Raiders. That's correct, and that's how it should be. I wouldn't have wanted them to sell the franchise either. But also, he's not. His family isn't. It's not like the Joneses who can go build Jerry World in Texas, or Dan Snyder, owning the Redskins, who can just fund the stadium out of their own pocket and just, not worry about it. I understand that business side of things. They're not going to be able to stump up for a stadium. I don't know, what discussions been had. Of course, it does. They do need to, that the Coliseum is. The fact that they're still sharing a stadium with a franchise that plays a different sport in the year 2017 is bordering on absurd. When you're watching those games and you've got the baseball diamonds there, it's not a great look. And we can see this stadium has been around for a while, shall we say, especially with the amount of new stadiums that have popped up in the last 10-15 years. But I don't know how much this necessarily affects the franchise in terms of losing a fan base. They're one of the teams, internationally they've got a bit of a fan base. They are one of the iconic franchises. I know they're one of the fan base that has fans throughout the US. Again, they're pretty iconic. You'll see Raiders hats any and everywhere. I see them pretty frequently here in the UK. Feel back, the people of Oakland, I got no doubt there'll be some degree of backlash. The fact that that they've announced this now and they're still going to play at least the next 2, possibly 3 seasons in the Coliseum. That's got the potential to get quite ugly, especially considering they're pretty vociferous fans over there in Oakland. It's just, it is one of those franchises I really am very unhappy to see go, especially to Vegas, because personally I don't think this move will work out. I don't think Vegas is going to support a team, or at least not support it significantly better than, I don't think better at all than Oakland and the surrounding area has supported this team. I hope it doesn't end up like the Rams situation where the last season the stadium ends up looking like a mausoleum, because that was just depressing. I mean, in some ways it must be nice to have some degree of clarity, but obviously not the news that fans of this franchise would have wanted, unless you happen to be a Raiders fan based in or around Vegas, and even then I can imagine some would probably be unhappy. It's an unfortunate change in the team's history and legacy. I'm not at all happy about this news. I really hope that this is the last bit of movement that we're going to see for a while. It's an unfortunate era for the NFL in that regard. I think it's another one of those things in terms of Roger Goodell's legacy as the commissioner of the league that people are going to remember poorly. This one, this and the Chargers one. I think the Rams one was that was understandable. I think from a lot of sides, I think people were a bit more forgiving of that one. But this and the Chargers moving, that really stings. And I'm not sure if the relationship, because I know the relationship with the Spanos and the Chargers, and with Dean Spanos and the sort of local authorities, I know that was pretty strained. So in some ways, I guess a break may have been needed. I don't know if that's the case necessarily in Oakland as well. But we'll see what happens. The other aspect as well is the Raiders have been so bad over the last few years, and they've finally turned it around. It's been 15 years since they were in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, and only really last year have they started to... Well, last year I think they turned the corner, and I think things are on the up. So, I mean, that just makes it sting that little bit more. It's like an extra, a kick in the fan base when it's down at this point. So that sucks, because I think things are going to be pretty prosperous for this team. And, they might see this team ascend in the next couple of years and then move on, and that's just going to make matters worse. So my perspective, not a fan of this move. I don't think it's going to work out for the franchise. I don't think it works out for Oakland. I don't see much, if any, upside to this at all. I'm very disappointed, and I'm not a Raiders fan. If I was, I would be devastated, and not even a local Raiders fan. But if I was a Raiders fan, were it my team, I'd be very, very frustrated, and I don't believe in changing sports team. I believe once you've got an affiliation, you stick with it. That's how it is, barring very specific circumstances. Example being like when Mike Vick signed with the Eagles. I could understand if you're an animal lover and you disapproved of that. I can understand that kind of logic to changing a team. I think relocation is also one of those situations where you can reconsider your allegiance and you get no judgment from me. Sad news, bad look, I think, for the league to have this many moves in such a short space of time. And my 2 cents, I don't think this is going to work out. I think this is going to be shown to be a poor move and a poor decision by the franchise, by the city of Oakland, and as a whole. I don't think this move will benefit anyone. So sad times. Let me know what you guys think. Raiders fans, I feel bad for you. Feel free to let me know your perspective on this. Do you understand the move? Do you have any kind of insights as to what's been going on? I'd definitely be interested to hear them. I'll do my best to respond to anyone who gets in touch. As always, apologies for my phone going off in the background. I do normally silence it. I hope it's not frustrated you too much. Thank you very much for checking the video out. I've got another video coming up later on today. Due to this one also being done, I'm not sure whether it's going to be the one I initially planned. I've got a slightly shorter one I was planning to do tomorrow, so I'll probably get that one up for you guys today. But thank you very much for checking it out. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the show, check out some more. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out the Patreon. You can find me on, we got the Cover Zero Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. As I say, I'll do my best to get back to everyone. I normally say it's been a pleasure as always. This episode, not so much. Not particularly happy to have to do this one, but it is what it is. So, thank you very much for your time. Have a good one. Lamentations for you Raiders fans, and go Bucks.